Hi, and welcome to the 17th episode of Bookish Time with Jenny. I apologize for not doing one last month, but I just really hadn't read much in between the videos. And then, like this month, I've read a 4-book series that I'm going to talk about in 1 week. And actually, it wasn't even that because I don't always read on the weekends. So it was actually less than a week. Okay, so you may have heard of Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. It actually came out in 1995. And then there was a movie, but as you know, there's always a lot of differences between. Basic story's the same, but I recommend the book. And then it wasn't until the last couple years you had Magic Lessons, that is a prequel, and then Rules of Magic, which is also a prequel. And then this month, there's going to be a sequel to Practical Magic called Book of Magic. Okay, so a lot of readers read them in publication order. So it should have been Practical Magic, I believe, Rules of Magic, and then Magic Lessons. It might have been backwards. I think I just said it backwards. I think it went this way. These are Book of the Month editions, so publication could be slightly off. It might just be when Book of the Month did them. And then, but since I had never actually read the series, I saw the movie long ago. Just remember the basic story. I actually read them in chronological order, which is Magic Lessons, Rules of Magic, then Practical Magic, and then the latest one, Book of Magic. Okay, so it starts off with Magic Lessons, which takes place in the 1600s. Basically, this isn't a spoiler, okay, because hopefully you know the premise of Practical Magic. This is about the ancestor of these girls that actually put the curse on the family, about it'll destroy the one you love, and then which in return destroys you. Okay, so this one, I have to admit, I'm not normally the biggest fan of historical fiction. I read historical romance. I don't know why that doesn't bother me, but historical fiction, I'm kind of like, eh. But I could not put this book down. Could be because, the Salem Witch Trials is just mind-boggling. And I like the quote, and I have no idea who this is attributed to. Why were we taught to fear the witches and not fear the ones who burned them, or, some form of that? That's kind of how I feel. But yeah, so this is about Maria. Couldn't put it down. She's the one who put the curse on the family. And technically, they all make not really appearances, but their names appear because through the whole series they know that Maria's the one who did it. And then if you know anything about Practical Magic, Rules of Magic is actually about the two aunts from Practical Magic. So this one takes place in like the 60s. I actually, because like I said, I had not read Practical Magic. There's a character that I don't think made it into Practical Magic, the movie, that I had no idea about till this book. And I may or may not have cried a couple times reading this book. And again, everybody that's been in the previous books are always referenced a lot in here. So this one, this one might have been my favorite. Actually, one of these two possibly were my favorite, sort of. I can't tell you too much about Book of Magic since it just came out. Or actually, it hasn't been released yet. Book of the Month can send certain titles early. So Practical Magic, you may know, is two sisters, which in the movie, it's Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. They have their elderly aunts, which, like I said, Rules of Magic are about them. And Jillian, Nicole Kidman in the movie, may or may not have killed her boyfriend. And again, I haven't seen the movie for many, many years. In the book, I think where they bury him is different than it was in the movie. But I want to watch the movie. I just want to wait. Because I actually had to read Book of Magic for a book club. The book club leader, I'm looking at you, Lauren, claimed this was a standalone. But I don't recommend reading it as a standalone. I think you get so much more knowing the whole story. Yeah, she kept saying Book of Magic was a standalone. I don't think you're quite as invested, but you know, when you've read 3 other books, you're a bit invested by the time you get to book 4. But and it seems like starting with Jillian and Sally, they're not always raised knowing they're witches. They just know, you know, they're different. And so, you know, that, you know, boggles their mind when things start happening, because, like, you know, they were like 4 and 5 when their parents were killed. And I believe that actually happens in Rules of Magic. And they call the aunts. They just found their phone number. They'd never met him. And they're like, we have to come live with you. Our parents have died. And again, haven't seen the movie in forever, so I'm not quite sure how the movie introduces that. But like I said, read the book. And you can watch the movie. Please do both. Don't just watch the movie, no matter what your book club leader tells you. And then, so this actually comes out on the 12th, I believe. So this, you know me, I love books. It says the novel begins in the library. Yes, it does. But the character I talked about from Rules of Magic finally comes back in this book. I'm not even going to name who it is. But if you've read them, you know who I mean. But again, the 2 sisters this is about are raised without magic, and one of them just flat out believes, oh no, that curse isn't real. And but again, everybody in this series loses their loved one. Poor Sally, one of the girls from Practical Magic, has a couple loves in her life, and she loses every one of them. But so this time, see, I think if you watch the movie of Practical Magic, I think they break the curse. But in the book series, this is the book that it is a race to figure out how to break the curse. Because I'm in it, like it says, it starts in a library. I'm actually going to read you the first line because, and it's dedicated to all the librarians who changed her lives. It says my lives because, you know, some stories begin at the beginning and others begin at the end, but all the best stories begin in a library. Yes, they do. But, you know, this one takes you from Paris to London to the English countryside because they want to go back to where the original witch, Maria Owens, was born. I call this the Owens Family series, but a lot of people call it the Practical Magic series, so I don't actually know what the series is called. I like Owens Family because I think it's so much more than just Practical Magic. I mean, for years, it obviously was just Practical Magic. But, I mean, this is definitely maybe tied for my favorite. You know, I love the beginning. I love the beginning and I love the end. But yeah, so, like I said, you might be most familiar with Practical Magic, but you got some reading to do to catch up. And, okay, we were just talking about this at work. I don't like genre labels. I think they're misleading at times. Okay, mystery's pretty straight up. But some libraries put fantasy stickers on these. Okay. My feelings are, that's only if you believe witches aren't real. But, again, I feel like some people might not pick these up if they see the fantasy sticker. Because, I mean, yes, there's, I don't even want to call it witchcraft. They call it the unnamed art or something like that. That's what I like. Because, it's not, yeah, the unnamed art. It's just, it's a lot more, like, it's not necessary. I mean, I realize the premise of the series is based on a curse, but it's not, the characters in these books, besides Maria, are not placing curses. They're helping people. So, I mean, to me, it's just literary fiction. I just think labeling it fantasy scares too many readers off. And so many books are such a mixture of genres because, like, I adore Jasper Fforde. My last cat was named after him. And a lot of people label his books fantasy. But I think they have elements of everything. They have mystery, they have literary fiction, and so I'm afraid genre labels scare people off. And the other sticker that I really don't like is the romance sticker. Because, I mean, yes, you can obviously tell when it's a bodice ripper. Which, speaking of them, I can show, you can tell, yes, this is obviously a bodice ripper. But, like, some of the rom-coms and stuff, I don't feel like they need romance stickers. Because, again, certain people are like, I don't want to be seen checking this out. So, I don't know, that's my rant on please don't pay attention. Always pay attention to the genre stickers unless you just really don't want to read a Western, which I don't know why old men love their Westerns and nobody is publishing them hardly. I don't know why James Patterson has not jumped on that bandwagon. He needs to write some Westerns. Actually, I think he wrote one or two, but he needs to get more steady because we have patrons that's all they want are Westerns. But, I don't know. I just give the series a chance, even if you think, because I myself am definitely not a fantasy reader, but I love this series. Like I said, I read it in less than a week, and I can't wait to discuss this book at book club at the end of the month. It's not a library book club, sorry, but that's why I decided to tackle the series this month, is because a non-library book club that I am a member of, I may not be officially their librarian. This is our book. So, I don't, obviously, since it depends on when you're watching this hasn't actually been released yet. So, just asked to be put on the wait list. And, I mean, you got a lot of reading to do before you need this book. So, and I actually really did just give our copy to a patron the other day because she wanted something to read. And I was like, well, if you're interested, I just read a really great book. So, I don't know. I hope you get to read a lot of spooky reads this month. I hope the weather stops going from hot to cold, hot to cold. And it's also my birthday month, so it's my favorite month of the year anyway. So next time you see a video from me, I'll be a whole year older. Actually, I move on to the next decade. I'll let you guess which decade that is. But like I said, oh, and I don't have a copy, but I love Alice Hoffman's book, The Story Girls. That's actually the only other book I've read by her. So, I mean, it boggles my mind that with the exception of this one, and these are somewhat newer, but like these sit on bookshelves. This one for a couple decades. These for a year or two. I don't know why. I never read them till now. And then I devoured them. And funny story, I've owned these since last year. And that's why I mean, like, so I knew in the back of my mind I was always going to read them. So, but I decided I wanted to get in the spooky spirit, and it helped. And besides, like I said, this was my assigned reading. So let me know what you think if you pick them up. Bye.